Welcome to Southbridge Business Partnership, our March meeting, actually. How's that? Last meeting was our annual meeting, and tonight we're going to have a few speakers concerning some things that are going on in town in Southbridge here. And we're trying to make everybody aware of anybody that's a property owner in Southbridge is actually going to have a trash expense is going to be coming at us in the future in 2024, and the information providing tonight is going to basically help the town and decide in which direction to go in. There's a couple directions that they're looking at. The information tonight is going to be kind of a culmination of the things that they've been working on. So tonight I have Mark Marchetti, who's the Councilor Mark Marchetti, who's Mike Marchetti. Sorry, I'm looking down wrong. And he's the chair of the Curbside Trash Committee. And Mike has also brought with him Stephen Lusaskis from Waste Zero, and Irene Congdon, who is the Municipal Assistance Coordinator for Central District. Again, she's working with Mass DEP. So I'm going to put Mike on first, and then we're going to move on with Steve and Irene.
You picking me up? Okay. I have the greatest, strongest voice, so I'll try and be as loud as I can. And so I'm Mike Marchetti, and Steve and Irene are with me here tonight. Also, Councilor Rivas is here, as well as the town manager, Blanchard. As most Southbridge residents know, our so-called free curbside trash collection is going to be ending on March 24th, 2024. And after that, residents will have to pay for their trash removal. The town council voted to maintain our current town-wide trash collection system with the toters, the trash toter, the recycling toter. We voted to maintain that. The question is now, how are we going to pay for this? Because the Casella contract is ending in March 2024, and now we're going to have to pick up the tab. So Councilor Daniel created a curbside trash committee to look at our options, and we've been meeting just about every month since November. I'm on it, Councilor Steves, the health director, Wasuik, is on it, Board of Health member Grabowski. We've got citizen members on it, Steve Gregoire, Mark Latoy, Catherine Grenier, and Kevin Buxton, and Irene has been assisting us from Mass DEP. So we're looking at three options to pay for the program, as proposed by the health department. Number one is property taxes. Two is flat fee, like a utility bill, your water and sewer bill. And three is user fee, a pay-as-you-throw program where you could use bags that residents have to purchase, or we could do stickers. Or it could be a combination of all three, two of them or all three of them. So I don't know if some of you are aware, but we sent out a survey with the census to town residents. I brought a few of them here tonight for you to look at. If any of you didn't receive any, then I have extras if you want to look at them. Which option do you prefer? So far, we've received about 1,600 responses, and the number one choice was the user fee, pay as you throw, where residents have to buy a special bag with the town sticker on it. The number two option that they chose was property taxes, and the third option was flat fee. Now, property taxes and flat fee was pretty split. It was really close to each other. There was only a few difference. Most of the respondents that we got were from homeowners. Renters were number two. Very few landlords. I imagine that's because it went out with the census, and maybe the landlords didn't get them, or maybe there may be some landlords who live out of town. So a few of the things that we have discussed so far is the user fee, the pay-as-you-throw. Residents would purchase town bags, such as colored bags with the town seal. And Steve Lasiskas from Waste Zero produces the bags for the pay-as-you-throw program. He's one of many companies that do that. And he explained the trash program to us in detail. The town would set the rates for the bag. I brought some bags with me just to show you the different sizes. This is a large bag. This is a 30, I think it's a 30-gallon bag. And if we set the rate for this, probably be around $2 a bag. We have smaller bags, which I've also brought with me. That would be like $1.25, maybe, something like that. My wife and I, we put out 3 bags maybe a week. So I think that if we really wanted to recycle more, we could probably get it down to 1 or 2 bags per week. So if this is like $1 a bag, that would cost us maybe $1, $2 a week. If we use the larger one, I'm thinking that we could probably put a bag out every month and get away with that. So $2 a month, this is not too bad. The bags are usually sold in a roll of 5 to 10 bags per roll. Mr. Lasiskas recommended keeping the cost for the bags affordable. As he explained it to us, and I will let him also talk to it, is that the program, a bag program, meters the trash like your water and sewer use. So the more you use, the more you pay. And what he has found in other communities is that when you have a bag program, it reduces the trash by a 30% drop in trash. More people recycle. And what that does is it saves the town money by reducing trash, which reduces disposal costs. And it can also increase recycling rates and could potentially save on collection costs as well. The estimates were that it would save the town about $150,000 in collection costs and $500,000 in revenue to help offset the cost of trash removal. However, it wouldn't be enough, so we would still have to have some other program like a taxes or a flat fee. Waste Zero provides the bags to the grocery stores, mini marts. The residents buy the bags from those stores. They collect the fee. So I don't believe there's an upfront cost for the bags. They collect a fee on the sale of the bags. They also will send out letters to residents who may not comply right away, reminding them that we have this bag program. So one of the other programs, because bags would not be enough to cover it, we're also looking at other programs like a flat fee, such as a utility bill. It would probably be paid quarterly, probably be in the same invoice. Some residents feel this is fairer than property taxes because it's not based on your property values. So if you have a 3-decker, you have 3 apartments, each tenant is going to have to pay the same as everyone else. The con on that, the part that I don't like about it is with a flat fee, it's a state law, homeowners can opt out. The more residents that opt out, potentially the greater cost for those who don't opt out. And as it's been pointed out, it's difficult to set a price from the hauler if he doesn't know exactly how many people you have in the program. So if 10% opt out, now he's got to refigure his pricing to the town. The homeowner must provide proof, however, that they are getting curbside pickup. They can't just take their garbage and throw it in somebody else's toter, or they can't throw it in somebody's dumpster. The other thing is, I don't feel there's much of an incentive to reduce the trash and increase recycling with a flat fee alone. So that's why the bags would be a combination. And then the third option is property taxes. Homeowners cannot opt out. Curbside program is paid through property taxes. Every homeowner pays, including all businesses, they would pay as well. The pros of having a property taxes is that your trash will get picked up. There's nobody going to say, I don't want to be involved in it, and then throw their trash out there anyway. Some residents have told me people are throwing their trash in their toters, so there would be none of that because they're going to pick up the trash. However, it would be based on the value of the home. Whether you have 1 family or 3 families, you would all pay the same. And some residents, and I agree, it's not fair. However, the trash will get picked up. And also, there's no incentive for recycling with just the taxes alone. And then there's also the issue of municipal trash pickup. Who's going to pay for that? That's going to have to come out of taxes. So some of the other options, we have talked about allowing businesses, small businesses, to opt into the program. I was talking to someone from a small church in town. They have a dumpster. He said that they would like to recycle more, but they can't get in the program. Maybe something like that, we could allow them to opt into this program. A small business like a small office business. I'm not sure about a gas station. I don't know if that would work, but some businesses would be able to opt into this program. Many residents returned the surveys, just said they didn't have enough information, like how much is this going to cost? So here is a summary of what the health department said to us. It's going to cost the town. It's estimated to cost between 1.6 and 1.8 million in 2024. We would keep the 64-gallon and the 96-gallon toters. If we do with the bags, these would go into the inside the trash toter. The recycling toter would remain the same. The haulers would be required to have a camera on the truck to make sure they're using the bags. There would be a weekly pickup of trash, bi-weekly pickup of recycle. We would maintain the number of households, which right now we will pick up 7,000 households up to 6 family. We would maintain the municipal trash and recycle pickup at the town halls and the school. There would be no bulk pickup with this plan. That would be a separate fee. There would be 1 hazardous waste day, 6 weeks of waste and leaf collection. There would be no yard waste drop-off at the DPW unless we want to keep that. Then we would have to hire a full-time person to handle illegal dumping and also maintain the yard waste dump-out. Drop-off. So how we split this up, it just depends on what system we go with. We go with property taxes. We go with a flat fee, a utility bill. We go with user fee, bags. We could have a combination of property taxes and bags, flat fee with bags. Once we get a solid number from the hauler, which they have sent out the RFP, we are getting some RFPs back right now, then we'll get a more accurate number on the cost. I have been told, and do not quote me on this, this is just an estimate, that it probably will cost the residents around $300 a year. How you split that up, it all depends on what program we go with. So that's all I have for now, and I'm going to let Steve speak to the bag issue, and Irene, if you want to come up as well to speak to the issue. Thank you. I'll try to answer your question. I don't know if I can answer it, but I'll try.
For all the time that we've been having trash pickup, how is it being paid for?
Casella is paying for it with the landfill contract. We have a contract with Casella. They operated the landfill. They collected royalty fee payments, tipping fees, and they provided us with free garbage pickup for the last 10 years. Now that's ending in March of next year, so we have to figure out how to pay for it ourselves.
So they don't want to renew the contract?
Well, if they renew the contract, we're still going to have to pay for it. Because they're providing it as part of the landfill contract, but the landfill's closed.
Landfill in town, and we no longer do. They were paying us to use the landfill and then provide free trash.
And how'd you do it before you had the landfill?
Municipal. It was a municipal pickup. Before we had the landfill, we had a...
So that came out of the taxes before?
Right. Yeah.
So now it's, okay, so the option now is to go back to them.
Either taxes, a flat fee, and or a bag program.
Well, I guess my question is, so the taxes paid for before, but now the costs have gone up 10 years later, so now you need taxes.
No, the taxes paid for it like 10 years ago. Then we had this long contract where Casella provided it as part of the contract for free. And now the contract's ending, so we're going to have to figure out how we're going to pay for it in the future.
No, I get
All right.
You've had the landfill for 50 years.
Yeah, the town owned a landfill, so it was.
So you were
less
taking your
expensive.
garbage to
To
a
the landfill,
landfill.
town landfill.
Our
Yeah,
own.
our own landfill.
Right, so you were taking your garbage up to the landfill. And is there the option of ever having a kind of landfill or drop-off in the future?
Landfill, no. Drop off, maybe.
Okay.
Yep.
But that's not part of this immediate potential solution?
No. Yes, sir.
My concern is for the third option, the property taxes, and then eliminating the yard waste. And then, so you start getting the property value. So now what do we do to yard waste if you have no way to take it?
Well, they will still have 6 weeks in the spring, 6 weeks in the fall to put it out to the curb. However, We are thinking about keeping it at the DPW. That's where I take my leaves. I take it up to the DPW. So if we keep it, then we'll have to hire somebody full-time to maintain it.
My only option since I've been here, I thought, was only for me to take it to the DPW site. So what's the difference in the curbside now for the yard waste versus taking it to the,
Well, you've always had the option to put it out to your curb. Put it in a bag.
Paper bags.
In paper bags. That option has always been there. I guess a lot of people knew that, but it was always there. The other option was to take it up to the DPW, which is where I take mine. I'm not saying we're going to eliminate it. It's just that in the proposal from the Board of Health, that was proposed to take it out. I think, and I would like to have it put back in, but
But if you have a fee program, that fee is going to be based on covering all the needs and wants and whatever of what it could be. So you would need, for instance, billing department. That's one of the issues that come up, and there has to be built into those costs a person in the billing department. So there's an overhead, there's an all overhead, but that's where the fee number comes to. The difference, the two plans, because I'd really like to hear about this, the two plans, the fee-based, which is cover all the costs with a fee. Don't worry about a bag. That's one way. That could be your 300 or more or whatever per quarter, like many communities. Or it could be a fee and a bag.
per year, that's per year. Yeah.
But per year. That's per year. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Yeah. But based quarterly, paid quarterly. Otherwise, if you have a fee and bag program, as he was talking about, that could reduce because the bags earn money, and maybe you only use one bag and somebody uses 5. Your fee would be all the same. Say it's 150. Maybe it's 150 a year. They figure out that they need minimum to keep that program going, and then the bags are what helps to offset. So everybody's fee is a little bit lower. Everybody who uses it, I should say, fee-based. It's user-based. Everybody who uses it. So there's a combination versus taxes, which I don't think it's. I'm one of those unfair people.
Yeah.
I think that overtaxing somebody who maintains their property versus those who don't and yet get rent in 3 or 4 units or 2 units, I find that to be a problem for me. So I think people need to learn to put their trash and do what they're supposed to with their trash. It's time we teach them again what needs to happen and make them responsible.
I guess I would ask what the consequences would be if they don't. I
Well,
can
they're going to
imagine
get
bag fees.
they get leaned. Yeah, you go ahead. Tell them about what happens.
Steve, you want to come up and talk?
All right, let's introduce Steve here. So Steve Lasauskas is the Vice President of Waste Zero. He's helped cities and towns reduce waste and increase recycling throughout the state. Steve previously was involved in local and state governments, specializing in turnaround management. He led the restructuring of Springfield, Haverhill, Lawrence, and Central Falls, Rhode Island. So Steve is dealing with communities like ours throughout the state, and he's doing a great job at Waste Zero. So welcome up, Steve.
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me in the back? And are you good, sir? Am I too loud? No? Okay, great. So I'll address the issue on enforcement in just a second, but just to provide a little bit of context. The town is going through re-entering the having to pay for trash at a time of real difficult transition for solid waste generally. In the 1980s, there were 304 large landfills in Massachusetts. Now there are 4. 3 of them are government-owned, and most of those governments, like Nantucket, so Nantucket counts in the 4, but you're not shipping your waste to Nantucket, they are throttling down or controlling who can dump material in their facility because they want to continue with their free waste disposal for as long as they can. Historically, there have been 7 waste-to-energy facilities in Massachusetts burning solid waste. Now there are 5. The one in Springfield closed. The one in Pittsfield closed. We have most of them. Many of them are in the Northeast. Millbury's the closest, and across the Northeast, you're seeing loss of disposal capacity. Connecticut lost half of their disposal capacity 2 years ago when their facility closed, and they went from paying $40 a ton to $148 a ton for trash disposal. Eastern New York has lost several million tons per year of disposal capacity. Maine has lost a couple of incinerators. They're looking to throttle their landfills because they're accepting an enormous amount of Massachusetts trash. New Hampshire is in a similar position. Their one major landfill, the Turnkey landfill, 54% of their materials coming from Massachusetts cities and towns. They're looking to find ways to throttle that material out of New Hampshire to protect their landfill so they don't have to build another landfill. All this to say, it's a dynamic marketplace, and a number of communities are either facing real significant challenges on the disposal side, or when we look at disposal capacity, we're looking at future additional constraints. We've lost several million tons per year of disposal capacity in the last several years, and that situation could get substantially worse depending on how New Hampshire and Maine end up handling their issues. So waste disposal is a complex issue, and the costs you're looking at are projected to grow, and they have historically grown at twice the rate of inflation and may grow at a faster rate as these issues continue to mature. As the councilor mentioned, there are multiple ways to pay for waste disposal. We, Waste Zero, we're a benefit corporation, so we exist at the same time as a private company, but also we have a public benefit mission to help cities and towns figure out ways from our public mission is to cut the trash in half across the U.S. And to help cities and towns do that. Just for full disclosure, we have no relationship of any kind with the town. We have no contract. We haven't talked about contracts. We haven't done anything. They've asked for our advice, and so we're here to provide our advice and professional opinion. And feel free to, if you move forward with pay-as-you-throw, feel free to not use us. Use one of the other firms on the state bid. Find a firm who's not on the state bid. Use us. We're still going to tell you the same thing one way or the other, but just so you all know, we have no relationship with the town in any way. As we look at it from a public policy standpoint, so first off, how you pay for trash determines how much you pay for trash. Just like how you pay for electricity determines it. We're all a lot less disciplined shutting the lights off if there's no cost implication. And studies show that. When we metered electricity, we saw about a 38% reduction in electrical usage. When we metered water, we saw about a 34% reduction in water usage. And even today, where you have multifamily properties that aren't metered, when they drive the meter to the individual unit, you still see that about 1/3 reduction in water usage. How you pay matters. That's why the whole economy is based on 3 T-shirts are generally more expensive than 2 T-shirts. When you go to the grocery store and buy 5 apples, that's more expensive than 1 apple. This is a system we're accustomed to, unit pay, across the entire economy. Solid waste hasn't been that way because we established these systems back in the 1600s or 1700s to try to get trash out of people's backyards and into a sanitary landfill, but we haven't updated the pricing methodology. By having a unit pay component, you can save, as the councilor mentioned, $140,000, $150,000 a year. That changes how much people have to pay, just by changing how they pay. So we would encourage folks to consider supporting a program, doesn't matter who you work with, that has that unit pay model, because that allows everybody to pay less because people are making better decisions with their trash. With these bags, you'll see about, as the councilor mentioned, about a 1/3 reduction in tonnage, and you'll see about a 2/3 reduction in volume. So what I mean by that is if you're thinking today, boy, I put out about 3 bags of trash, what we find is people get down to 1 bag of trash. And the reason for that is increased recycling and squishing. Right? People don't want to buy another bag, so they take that first bag. In Seattle, they call it the Seattle Stomp, and everybody's got a name for it, right? But they stand on the bag, they put the elbow to the bag, they do whatever to get more trash in there. So you typically see about a 2/3 reduction in volume in the number of bags you have to use, and about a 1/3 reduction in trash tonnage. So to get back to the question on compliance, what we find is compliance starts high and remains high with the program. As long as you do the public communication work that I know the councilor has indicated to me that the town is thinking is a critical part of the program, we agree. And as long as you do that, what we've found is about a 95+% compliance rate week one. So that means 95% of households you drive by, they have your, we'll use maroon, they have the maroon bags out, and then 5% or 5 out of every 100, somebody may have a black bag or a white bag out, and that's going to be a combination of people who didn't know and people who are testing the system and a whole bunch of stuff. And what our research and our practice shows is all you have to do is let those people know you noticed. The vast majority of people know that if there are rules established by the government and you don't follow those rules, there's a consequence for you. And so what we have found is necessary is the vast majority of time you let somebody know they used an inappropriate bag, and I'll talk about how that's done in an automated manner in just a second. They don't recidivate. Our numbers out of Springfield were 81% of the time that you let somebody know for trash that they didn't comply with the rules. Week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, they never did it again. Because again, I know if the government sends me a notice, I'm either getting fined or I'm going to jail, right? Now, that's not going to happen here, but that's what we've been trained to do, right? I blow through a stop sign, there's a consequence. I stay over the meter, there's a consequence. People understand that if there's rules and I don't follow them and the government's noticing, I should comply. So we have found that to be, in the vast majority of cases, the only thing that's required is to let people know you notice they didn't comply with the program. But of course, there's that 19% or so of people who say, oh, let's see where this goes, and may try again or they may forget. In that example, what we have found is, again, you don't have to whack people. It doesn't have to be a $300 fine. It could be another letter. So in Springfield, we did a yellow notice, a red notice, and then started to fine people. And again, the fining was very small, very few instances in which we had to fine people. But you can send them a letter. Send them a slightly sterner letter, and then you can start fining them if you want. It's really just you need to have a process there. Maybe it's a $25 fine, maybe it's a $50 fine. You need a structure. And we, as one entity, have done enforcement programs like this. We did it for free in Fall River when Fall River implemented a similar it was actually almost an identical program, cart-based program with bags inside. So you need some enforcement. Have some rules in place, that's critical. And then when you start the program off, we can put some inspection people on the ground to make sure we get off on the right foot. And then from there, the hauler can handle it with a clipboard that says, 123 Main Street didn't do it. You just write it down, and then that can serve as your enforcement thereafter. It's, again, week one's 97% compliance, and it gets better from there. So it's not really a whole lot of work thereafter. Irene, did you want to? Yes, thank you. And so for an automated collection, if you're not familiar with the trucks, you have the cab here, you have a body behind you, and the truck body behind you, and you can't see. There's an arm that reaches out that's controlled. The arm reaches out, pinches the container, lifts it up. There's a variety of different lift mechanisms, but it just lifts it up. Gravity opens the lid, and the stuff falls out into a hopper. That, generally speaking, is a contained hopper, so wind doesn't take stuff and fly away. So it's a contained on 3 sides, 1, 2, and 3, and it dumps in here. There's a camera right here monitoring what's going into the hopper, because you don't want propane tanks and stuff like that going in there, because there's a crusher in there, and you don't want to have metal on metal crushing, potentially causing a problem, obviously, with a propane tank. So there are cameras there. So if I'm in the cab, I'm sitting here with my steering wheel, I have my computer here, I have a monitor here, which I'm required to watch as it's dumping, to make sure that you don't have a propane tank, or in this instance, it's the appropriate color bag. So we've tested this. We're looking for the video. We'll be looking for the video tomorrow morning to provide it for folks who are interested. Up in New Hampshire with Waste Management, we tested blue-green bags and green-blue bags. So just a few shades off. And with the camera, and this was 8 years ago or so, you could tell the difference in the shading in the bags. So if you have a yellow bag, blue bag, green bag, orange bag, whatever, it's not a problem from a recognition standpoint. It's not a black and white camera. The operator should be able to see it tipping out orange bags, yellow bags, and if there's a black bag or white bag or inappropriate bag in there, again, clipboard, 123 Main Street, and then that can go into the enforcement process of sending them a letter and all that stuff. Again, it's this business, having been in the turnaround business in government and having police departments where we focus on a lot of difficult stuff, this actually has been a pretty refreshing experience in human nature. We don't think it because we're planning ahead and we're worried about noncompliance and we're worried about dumping and we're worried about problems. The vast majority of people, you let them know what the rules are, they follow the rules. They do a good job because they're good people. And so we found that in community after community after community, compliance rates are good, people participate in the program, people take pride in the program because they're doing a good job and they see what their recycling was before and now they see it more, they know it's a good thing, and so people participate and seem to support the program. So with that, I'll stop yammering, let Irene join in, and I'll be here for any questions anyone may have. Thank you.
So I want to introduce Irene. Irene Cognan is Municipal Assistance Coordinator for Central District. So she works for the Mass DEP. That's the easiest way to describe it and all. But she's coming to us through a grant program that the town has received, and she's helping out with the whole committee. So again, Irene.
Thank you for having me here, and thank you. So I'm here to help. So the town applied for a technical assistance grant. I've actually been here for over 20 years in central Massachusetts and have worked with about 30 communities to go to a pay-as-you-throw program or to evaluate it. There's 155 pay-as-you-throw programs in Massachusetts and more around the country. And there's even countries that say this is the way to go, and they make the entire country go to a bag program because it is just, if you use one bag, you pay for one bag. If you use 10 bags, you pay for 10 bags. It just makes it that fair. If you go away, you don't have to pay for the trash, you know? So it does make it efficient and equitable and fair. I am wondering if you guys know about the waistband laws. Sometimes as business owners, sometimes we don't have it, but on Massachusetts, we have waistband items. Because of the landfills have closed, we have said these certain items don't belong in the trash anymore. So I'm sure since November, you saw all the signs up that were like mattresses, 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 no more mattresses, because that was the newest ban. We hadn't done one, but we've had them since 1990 of no cardboard, no glass, no plastics, no TV screens. So we've had all those items put into that you don't put them in the trash. And we've added now textiles and mattresses to that. So the town has now programs that you can call with your hauler, and that's still going to be there, even though the current program it's under the umbrella of your current contract with Casella. That it was because of the landfill contract that you don't have to pay anything. But starting in March of next year, everybody's going to get a bill. And so that's like what he was talking about, is that we're working with the committee. I'm helping to support the committee of looking at the options of what to do. So the RFP went out. The RFP is now in the town administrator's hands. And so hopefully we'll get some numbers, and that will be more clarifying, because before we've just been working with theoretical numbers. You don't know a number until the RFP goes out and the RFP comes back, and then you can look at the numbers and say, this is the cost of what the market is right now for the town of Southbridge to start. So those numbers are just getting back into the town, and probably the next meeting we'll actually have those options with numbers behind them. It's kind of hard to to say this is the program we like without knowing those, but we did find out some great information in the last meeting. Is the assessor's office has software that they do for the billing for the water and sewer, and it's actually free to add in trash. So that was like a great thing, because we didn't know if we needed a whole new software package. That's a lot of money to have a new software package. But we already did know we needed more staff time. So those are things that can be added. The big question I want to just share with you as business owners is not only do we have the waistbands, and we're going to have a change in program here, but that recycling, we have a wonderful education out. So we have stuff on the website. So if you haven't been to the Southbridge, just put recycling in there and it'll bring you to a lot of information of where to take stuff. And we try to keep that updated as well of what we know. But as we know, we haven't had concrete information yet, data. So we're just getting that shortly. We have a wonderful website called recyclesmartma.org, and that is throughout the entire state, and it is on your website here, but it is for all of Massachusetts. It's for businesses, it's for residents, it's for everybody. It is what can be put into the recycling bins. So everybody has questions of, but what about pizza boxes? Yes, pizza boxes, just no pizza. So eat the pizza, put it in the freezer, put it in the fridge, and then you can recycle your box. It's okay if it has some grease on it. We have a wonderful thing that's called a recyclopedia. So we have a nice poster on there that says the basic stuff. You know, the bottles and cans and the paper and the cardboard you can put in there. We have it in different languages. So if you have customers that come in and you want to say what can be recycled, you can have it in the language. You can just print it off right on, just very easily off the website in all different languages. Has a recyclopedia, and you can say, I just got glasses. Can glasses go in there? And the answer is not in the recycling bin. It might be glass, but pressured glass from glasses versus a bottle is different. So there are some things that you'd think of, why can't that go in there? Or milk cartons that are carton. Milk jugs are okay, but cartons are not. It's because of our things go into the market. It goes on Wall Street. It goes up and down. Since 2018, everything changed with China, of things that were all going there and being processed and coming back. Now we're doing processing here in the United States. So if you talk to Casella, you talk to all the material is really staying in New England and in the United States, which is great. It's just we're a little more pickier. You know, the markets say what can be purchased. And so that's why we keep on upgrading. Tofu containers just were added in the past month. So we are constantly, there's over 800 items on there. So you can kind of say, oh, this new container came in. Is it recyclable at the curb? And it might say it's recyclable like plastic film, but not at the curb. That's an item that you take back to the supermarket. So you can put your bags in bags, your bread bags, your supermarket bags, your dry cleaning bags, things that bags came in, like toilet paper and paper towel rolls. Those things can be put into the bags and brought back to the supermarkets, and they'll be made into Trex lumber. So it's a business that makes the lumber. We also added a new item on there just in the past couple months. It's called Beyond the Bin. So besides the stuff that you can bring at the recycling that you put out in the curb, your paper and your containers, but what about clothes? What about shoes? What about household items? What about the pots and the pans? What about keys? I have a whole bunch of keys. What happens? So with styrofoam, we have a list of all the different companies on there, and we're always looking for other businesses. So if you are in a business or you're working on a project and you're like, oh, we're going to do an art project, or we were just talking about for the florist that maybe you want some vases, you could actually say, I want baskets and vases. And you can just say it for a small time. I just want it for now, and then take yourself off the site so people don't come anymore. So it's a great site that you can add yourself to it or utilize it. You're like, I have a lot of these items, and you can look in there. We also have a business-only site. It is called recyclingworksma.org. And that is if you have a particular item, like you have a lot of something, and it's not something that we'd recycle at the curb, you know, a whole bunch of pallets. You know, we have a whole bunch of, it can go on there, and you can call the number, and then we have a business coordinator. So I'm the recycling coordinator for Central Mass with municipalities, so I help the municipalities, and then we have somebody that is just for businesses, and they can help you direct, saying, I have a new company, I want to do more recycling, I want to do waste reduction, I want to do organics. How can you help me? And you can just call the number and ask for help, and it's free. So we have a lot of resources. If you have questions, I can take it. I know we've talked about the town program here. Yes.
Do you see a future in better plastic bags?
So compostable bags, I personally, it only depends on the type of program you're using. So if you are using a composting, like if you're collecting a restaurant's, we have a ban. If you generate half a ton of organics a week, you cannot put it in the trash anymore. So restaurants, food service companies, all different places, schools, if you generate 1,000 pounds a week of food waste, it needs to be composted. Needs to be, so that is now state waste ban law. If you are dealing with a company that is composting, then you could use those compostable bags. So some of them have, it depends on where it's going. So that's why it's hard to say yes automatically. If the company is going to a windrow system and they are have the leaves and they have the food waste and it's going like that, the compostable bag might be too hard. It won't disintegrate. It won't compost fast enough. So it depends on the bag. So some of them will say, don't you buy your own bag if you're dealing with this vendor. I have my own that works with my system. So some of them are a little more industrial, and they got meats and bones, and they take shells and everything, and things that you would not do for home composting, but in industrial composting, they can do a lot more. And in some cases, then they can take some of those other compostable plastics. But it's really very depends on how you're processing the material, if you can accept it. So I would not say, oh, let's buy a whole bunch of compostable plastic, because...
And I say it only just because you seem like you would know the future of garbage, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's been a while. I've been here for a while.
No, so I just think if we go to
Yeah.
pay as you throw and everybody's buying plastic bags, is there a more environmentally friendly plastic bag future out there? But it's a total side.
The one thing... Yeah, so the other thing would be is it's made from recycled material. In most cases, you have to know is our landfills are decreasing and decreasing. Yours already closed. The likelihood is you're going to go to another, the waste to energy facility. Why spend more on a compostable bag if it's going to be waste to energy? But being recycling, that you're taking something and making, because how much quantity? You want to tell them how much your...
Sure, minimum of 30%. So as I mentioned earlier, on average, people are going to use 2/3 fewer bags with a proposed bag program than they do today. So immediately you're seeing about a 2/3 reduction in plastic film use for trash bags. So that's not to zero, but that's an improvement. As Irene mentioned, for us as one manufacturer of these bags, we use a minimum of 30% recycled content. We can go up to 100% recycled content, depends on the color of the bag. So if you want clear bags, so if you're Canadian, Canadians have a lot of clear bag programs. They put your household trash in a clear bag out on the curb. That would never work in the U.S., I have found. But it seemed like a bright idea at the time we proposed it. So that you can't use very much recycled content because it all comes mixed. And so the darker your bag, the more recycled content you can handle because there's no color control at the front end. But what I'll also note is, this is not the case in Europe, but in the U.S., these bags are not made with oil. They're not made with petroleum. They're made with a waste byproduct of natural gas extraction. So already these bags, prior to the invention of a plastic bag, the ethylene was being burned off. So these bags are already made with a waste product. And then the hope is we as one manufacturer ship a lot of plastic film from the Northeast to our plant and then give that waste, which was made into a bag, another life as a trash bag that reduces 2/3 of bag usage. So we're trying to get as low as we can. As Irene mentioned, with a compostable bag, the cost is like 2.5 times that of a plastic bag, and then you're just going to landfill it or incinerate it. If you incinerate it, you're literally burning it. And if you landfill it, paper's still going to be in a landfill in 100 years. You can pull out old newspapers and read them from landfills. A biodegradable bag just won't biodegrade in a landfill. But if you're doing an outdoor windrow compost system, it might work. So it depends on your system. We are working to get to as little plastic as possible. But just know that in the U.S., if you're buying a trash bag, it's usually made from a waste product from natural gas, not new oil, which is the case in Europe.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I'm curious, a question, and actually, kind of probably go to him, but why the closing of incinerators?
It's just age and we have a moratorium on waste. So in Massachusetts, you cannot cannot build a new waste energy facility. And then some of them have just aged out. I want to say Springfield was probably 50s. I don't know. It might have been. It was.
Why can't we in Mass?
It's just a state regulation of, I think the legislator said no, it's a moratorium.
Well, if it's helpful context, the one in Connecticut, which is a 500,000 ton a year, which is a fairly small incinerator, was $480 million to fix. And then you're retrofitting a 40, 50-year-old incinerator for $500 million.
How much are they to build out? If there wasn't a rule saying you couldn't.
500 to 700 million, probably.
So it would make sense to build a new one versus a retrofit.
It would make sense to reduce the trash.
I go back to when Worcester first started the bag program 20 plus years ago. Was resistant at first, but quickly realized it was a phenomenal idea. It also does force way more recycling, and I think it's the best idea here. I hope that, and yeah, I have a business and I could be, quote, in my opinion, punished because I pay for my own trash removal already. But as a consumer who's been through per bag system, I think it's the smartest way to go.
You had a question? Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess my concern is, sustainability. I know you talk about reducing trash, but let's just talk about that for a second. We want to encourage recyclable, but yet we pick up recyclables every other week and trash every week. So how does that encourage a recyclable? Number two, if we continue to close incinerators, continue to shut down landfills, doesn't matter what system we use, are we thinking that we're no longer going to have trash, period?
So I have the data that literally just came to my email. So you wanted updated information. This is the updated information. We do on a state level waste characterization study of the waste energy facilities, of the landfills, and we do that every 3 years. And this is the 2023 data. They just finished in February. They just handed the report. And I did it for Millbury. They have all the 5 facilities, and they say, this is what's going on in each one. This is what's going on in the state. And I'm like, well, I'm just Central Mass. I have 75 communities. Most of us are using the Millbury Wheelabrator facility. And it was really interesting that we have a really good recycling program. You guys have the 96-gallon cart out there. If you were weekly, you wouldn't collect more. That's the one thing is you already have a big cart. You're not really going to collect more. I found that only 12% of basic recyclables are still going to the trash. And I'd say that that's from multifamilies that are not utilizing the programs throughout the entire Central Mass. That there's some apartment complexes that are still not recycling. And there's businesses like yourselves that are probably still not recycling cardboard. And so some of that gets into the trash. We did the audit, and we want to make sure we capture that. But the biggest chunk, 32%, was organics. And that's why we've been focusing big on, so in our trash right now is 30%. 32% is organic material that can be composted. And we have a waste ban that just moved down just in November from a ton, so 2,000 pounds a week, to 1,000 pounds a week. So we're now going to see that impact that a school that did not generate that much, but now does that. When they have that bill and says, oh, you need to start composting, what we found is the food service director starts then sharpening the pencil and saying, well, what are we throwing out? We're throwing out that much food? So we've done a different test. We've had different people come and help them and say, if you add cheese, they'll eat it more. If you do a smaller portion, and it's also about timing of kids when they eat. If you have playground first, then they're very hungry and they'll eat everything. If you have playground after, they're not going to eat because they want to go outside and play in the playground. So it's sometimes we have a schedule because we feel that this is the most efficient schedule, but sometimes we make waste because of that. So there are some tricks that can be done to help reduce our waste. And so when you say, can we reduce it, 32% can really, in the next I'd say 5 years, pretty much be almost gone, because we are changing our food. If you can see, a lot of people, I see every ad that people are actually having food delivered, and it's already packed, they're not having the waste. They're not cutting the foods up, everything's already ready for them. If you are cooking, I have a big family, we have a compost bin. We have chickens. I know since COVID, chickens have definitely been the thing. Everybody wants to get a chicken. Everywhere I know, if people haven't had chickens are now getting chickens, they eat the leftovers. They eat that. And because of costs have gone up, the eggs, you want to eat your egg. You don't want to just throw it out. You don't want to throw out the strawberries. You paid a lot of money for the strawberries. So because of inflation, we're actually going to utilize our food better instead of throwing out. We've been throwing out 2/3 on a country level. We throw out a lot of food. We don't even eat it. We just get it, take a few bites and throw it out. And so we're putting the spotlight on it. So on a state level, and this will really have a big impact. I don't know if you see that. This blue is our organics that are in the trash. I would, for 20 years, said we will, home composting, good, but I didn't think that we'd get to curbside organics. And I have all of Central Mass. I don't know if you know, but there are 2 big companies that are all over the place, because they are servicing the restaurants, they are servicing the schools, they are at the big manufacturing of salsas and all different chips and things around Massachusetts, that they are servicing residents. So a resident pays a little thing for having their food scraps picked up at their house. They had a party. They had, sometimes, I know over COVID, we wanted to have a lobster dinner because we haven't had one in so long. And we just had the company come and take all the lobster shells away, and that was nice. So you could just do it as an event, or they could come weekly. So this number, when we say, can we reduce? We can. 32%, I think, in 5 years will be gone. And the other things that are on here that we're throwing out is charm items, clothes. That's why we did the waistband. 5% of what we throw out in Massachusetts is clothes. We have a clothing bin around the corner. We have Salvation Army, we have Goodwill, we have Savers, we have the Epilepsy Foundation coming to our house, we have Big Brothers and Sisters coming to our house, yet we still have 5%, about 80 pounds per person is still being thrown out. So that can really be changed. If you have a hole in your shoe, if you have tears or little rips, it's okay. They recycle it. It either goes reuse right away, or if you've seen the kids' pants, they like holes. And so it's no problem. And then my daughter got into changing clothes. So you take a baby's clothes and you just sew it up a little bit, and then she made stuffed animal clothes. So people are being more creative also with the textiles, because, hey, why throw it out just because it has a stain? Let's get back into tie-dyeing. It has a stain, we just tie-dye it, and you can still wear it. So there is more creativity going on with the stuff that we're throwing out. So hopefully that answers your questions. We do have that going on, and we're going to reduce that. It's only 30%. So we throw out 100% of what's in our bins. 30% is the real trash. 70% we could be recycling, composting, or reusing.
Could you speak to the recycling just once more? I didn't understand. So you said that we use up the big recycling bins, but we're going to be recycling more. We don't need more recycling pickup.
So the likelihood is, when you typically start a program, you don't normally have the carts right away. You already have carts in place. Since you've had the carts in a free program, you already are at, I want to say, my memory is that you're at about 400 pounds per household for recyclables. For Central Mass, it's pretty much about 500 pounds is the max. So you can maybe get another 100 pounds of recyclables, and in your bin you can handle that. It's also your recyclables, if you've felt them, they keep on getting lighter and lighter. And so you're now going to change your detergent bottles. I've been hearing all the things is we're changing from detergent bottles to the boxes that you just have, it's like a dryer sheet, and you put that in, and that's your wash. and you don't need the plastic. So I'm seeing a lot of families switching over. So that's going to be a big reduction in the weight and the how much space you need. Also economics. We bought a lot over COVID. We don't have the funds to keep on buying everything on Amazon all the time. So those things are also going down. And the great idea, you had a great idea. She has her boxes, and when she has her charity, giving stuff to charity, she puts them in the box and gives the box away. So then you don't have recycling of the box. You're reusing the box, and it's going to your customers or to charity or someplace else.
Okay, thank you. Just because one of the comments I heard anecdotally in the beginning, someone said, if we go to the the pay-as-you-throw, I'll recycle more. I would need more recycling pickup, less garbage pickup. So I think that was.
Yeah, and in most cases it goes up dramatically. I just need to be where you are now, and I could expect 100 pounds, and your bin can handle that. We just need to make sure it's clean and you're not putting bad stuff in it. If somebody's trying to sneak trash in there or trying to put the kitchen sink in there, we don't want that. We want people to go to recyclesmartma.org to know what goes into the bins. Yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah, I just was confused too. So recycling, we pay for recycling or we don't pay for it? It's free.
At the current time, you don't pay for anything.
But no, I'm saying.
Yeah, in the future, this new RFP, I have not seen it. I have not seen the hard numbers yet. But yes, there will be a cost for recycling processing.
Then why don't we use why isn't there not a bag system for the recycling?
Because we're promoting, and it's just easier. You can just have one cost of the $2 and the $1, and that and the flat fee or that and the taxes will cover the cost. So you don't need to have another.
It's not in addition. They will keep the same type of program, and it will be covered under that fee or however they're going to cover it. So whether it's taxation or whether it's a flat fee in a bag or it's just a fee, that includes recycling.
We're bundled it together.
Added it all in as to what this community needs. We need to keep the recycling and we need to have trash. So that what they're proposing, when the numbers that we kind of loosely threw out based on the committee's comments about numbers, that included exactly what we're doing, the recycling and all. There is a cost to recycling in a way, but it's part of what they're proposing. It's all in there. And that reduces your bag cost because you're not putting trash in bags, you're putting recycling in a bin. So it balances out.
Yeah, and I know we kind of say the second you have a bag, you're going to recycle. It's actually more than that. The second you pay for your trash bag, even no matter what the cost is, you're going to actually look at what you throw out. And the second you look at what you throw out, you're like, oh, all those books can go to the library. All those shirts can go to the bin. Who's putting sneakers in here? Let's put them in the bin. And you're like, oh, those are pots and pans. I can bring them back to for reuse, Or there's a metal place that will take all my metal things. I was sharing, we're hoping at some point the next level of this would be get back to a recycling center, like in the next year or two, after things get. But we first need to get the curbside program settled. But Leicester is an open site. So just so you know that anybody can go to Leicester and recycle. There's a small fee to just come, but you can. And so if you have all metal, you have electronics, you have different items, you can always take things there. So, and then there are different events. So you can see different events and being like, oh, we're going to have a truck for these things, and you can do reuse that way as well. Or, like I said, the beyond the bin, you can just plug it in there, and it'll tell you where you can go.
So the hauler is going to pick up your trash. He's also going to pick up your recycle. He's not going to pick up our recycle for free. He's still going to charge to pick up the recycle. So,
No, I just understood the benefit of what's happening with bags is people reduce
Yes.
how much they're throwing the bags.
Absolutely.
And the same thing would apply to if you had to pay the bags for the recycle, then it would reduce what you put in the recycle.
All right, the goal is we want that to be, because, yeah, if you recycle more, it is good, but there is a cost, but we'll do the numbers on that. But any other questions? Yeah.
That maybe we should promote the recycling more to get more people to.
Well, you have been, so I don't know if you know, you have Anna Smith has been in town. She worked with the landfill closed, so she has been doing recycling education this whole time since that, working in the schools, we had before COVID was going down and helping people to say, oh, you're missing, you have items in there. It was the IQ. We want quality of recyclables, increased quality. So don't put the trash in there. And so she went down to each house and would put stickers on it and say, please look at Recycle Smart MA. Here's the flyer in a different language. How can I help you to understand what can be put in the bin? So we have been, and like I said, you're at 400 pounds per household for Southbridge. I think that's really good. I just don't think you really can push too much. And I just know the market of recyclables, everything's getting lighter and lighter. And then people that decide to use glass, like for canning jars. We've been using canning jars now as going backwards and using that as Tupperware, you know? And then, you know what, you just keep on washing it and reusing it and washing it and reusing it, and then you give it to somebody else and they use it. So then you don't have that, it's not going in the recycling bin. It's not going in the trash bin. So we're getting more creative.
I would like to see trash, and I wonder, there's a question I have. Will trash ever go to every other week? If indeed you can reduce to simple bags and increase your recycling, could it ever go to every other week and thereby cost even less from a hauler?
To touch base, I'll get to that in just one
I
second.
don't think that would work in Southbridge, just so you know.
Yeah. So on recycling education, what we've found is if you hit recycling education hard, you can move the number by about 0.5% to 1%. And the reason we have found is pricing matters. And so if you know fundamentally you can throw this out for free, perception free, nothing's free, but to me it feels free, that's the message that's being reinforced, right? So you may come to me one time a year, one time a month, let's say. That would be the most robust recycling education program I've ever heard of. One time a month you come to me and say, Steve, please recycle. Okay, but every week I get the message that trash is free. And so we have mixed messaging here, right? And plus you can inspect my recycling all you want. It's relevant to recycling, but it's not relevant to me getting recycling out of the trash. No one's opening up my trash bag, right? To see is paper in there, is cardboard in there, is appropriate glass in there, stuff like that. So what we find is recycling education absent pricing moves the needle about 0.5% to 1%. You've been doing recycling education. We as a Commonwealth have been doing it for 45 years, and we are where we are. So, but when we tie in pricing and give that feedback to people, throw all the Snapple bottles you want in here, you're paying for it, people make a different decision. Now we have consistent messaging. We have, was that helpful? Okay. What we've found on communities in Massachusetts, 2 have gone to every other week collection of trash. At least one of those 2 went back to weekly, not because they had so much trash, but because people felt it was inconvenient to hold their trash. Brattleboro implemented a bag-based program 5 years, maybe 7 years ago now, and they saw such a reduction and such an increase in composting that they went to every other week trash, weekly food waste. And so they saw like an 80%, don't quote me on this, but I think it was 60% initially. But then when they went to weekly food waste, it dropped another 20. So they've seen an enormous reduction. But every community is different. And so it may be possible to do it, but there's 155 pay-as-you-throw communities in Massachusetts and only 1 is there. So I think it's a goal, but it may take a while to get there.
And the same thing, I asked about recycling because, well, when I was alone, I have 2 kids, but I would have barely a bag of trash. And then my recycle bin, if I missed a week for some reason, now I'm in trouble.
The landfill was in place. There was a recycling center, transfer station. So it'd be kind of nice to have that place again, but it's just not on the books in the next year or so.
I mean, I think you would have to really involve kids in school too, you know, to let them know. And at the end of, whether it was a week or 2 weeks, it was amazing how little trash we had. And kids were really good about it. It was like, well, we went, you know, to the movies, but I took my popcorn container, and I have my popcorn container in there, but they really were conscious. It made me, now I still use paper towels, which is unfortunate, but for that week, I only use cloth towels. You know, it just,
And that's pretty much exactly what this does. It makes you look into your trash bag, and that is that program. It just, and then you pay $1 or $2, and then it makes you feel more. It's like, oh, I held it, and now I had to pay for it.
Well, thank you very much. I think it's been intuitive and descriptive as to what we're looking at going forward. So, I do have Jose Ortiz from the school who was looking to speak. Give us a little update as to what's going on at the school, and not that much. Well, all right, come on up, Jose, and just give the idea to the business people what's going on. So.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jose Ortiz. I am the Special Assistant to the Receiver for Family and Community Relations. That is something that we and the Receiver, the Southbridge Public Schools, is really looking to improve. You know, what does it mean to really be engaged and engaged to the community, really working with parents, and what better than the business community to kind of like to start really that conversation, and we will recycle. The receiver is not here with us today, but he had asked to just come at a later date and do an update in the public schools. We have come a long way in the last 5 years. A lot had changed, the pandemic, you know, all the madness that created in the schools overall. But the one thing that we know is that we are making progress, and we are here to ensure that all kids really are successful. You know, I think that that's really what we all want for our kids and the community. So that's all that I have for today. Is just wanted to introduce myself. I do know some of you already, but I'll be coming, knocking at the door, just looking for ways to partner with our schools. So thank you. Sure.
So in my school, they might have 4 kids in there, and they have different people from the community come in for one day, and it's called a STEAM day.
Yeah.
And they're learning about the different businesses that are around, and to understand what it is to be a nurse, what it is to be
like a career day.
Different thing. I didn't know if you guys have that, because it's really nice to be able to have the business community be able to come into the schools once a day, once a year to talk.
We don't do that enough, and that's the reason why I'm here. You know, I do believe that Southbridge have a thriving business community, and our schools need you so much. You know, our kids are wonderful. You know, I think that that's one thing that we need to continue to talk about. Oh, Southbridge Public Schools, you know, Southbridge. Well, Southbridge is great. You know, it really has. You know, it really has really amazing things, and our kids, I believe, are at the very center. So definitely something that I will look you, and probably we can just get several of us to start something. We have a teacher, former teacher here. I heard wonderful stories already. So anyways, just like I want to thank you. Just wanted to introduce myself and tell you that we are now really making an effort to engage truly with the community, not to just say, oh, we go to this event and this event. You know, I think that we need to do more than that. Okay, thank you.
Well, that concludes our meeting for tonight. And unless we have anybody that'd like to speak, has anything going on, any community activities? Lisa?
We'll be starting the Autumn Fest planning the next couple of weeks. It is scheduled for September 16th on the Common. It's always the third Saturday of September. I can pass around if anyone's interested in signing up to join on the committee. We do have bi-weekly meetings usually, and we need lots of help and new ideas. We love new ideas. So I will pass this around if you're interested in signing up. That way we have your contact information.
It's an all-day event, typically 10 in the morning to 5 at night, and bands, and we have the schools involved and dance programs and different things. So it's on the town common, and it's a full-day event. So it's our music and food, and so it's grown fairly large, and again, it's the business partnership's largest event. So that's it for the evening, and have a great drive safe going home.